Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be making some Texas chili. I'm going to show you how to make this wonderful, delicious, meaty chili that will have you warm on the coldest of days. Today I'm going to be making some Texas chili. I wanted to do a fantastic chili recipe for you. Something that you can use as a base recipe and build on it if you wish. This is pretty much where my good chili recipe making began, okay, with this recipe. I came up with this many years back, in fact decades ago, when I really was working hard at making good chili. And I came up with several different recipes, and this is one of those. It is a good chili that's very hearty. It's very beefy and rich, and the flavors are incredible. They just pop. You also have a lot of nutritional value because there are so many vegetables in this. There's a lot going on in this recipe. So what I'm going to show you is my Texas chili recipe. It's delicious, folks. Let me show you these fantastic ingredients back here, and we're going to get busy making this. Before I run into that though, let me mention some of the background. I started making chili back in the 70s, kind of got into the 80s and really got experimenting with it hard, learning flavor profiles. You have to learn the flavors of all of the different foods that you use, and then you get some idea of how they're going to intermingle and combine. But also you need to learn what food tastes like when they're combined with other foods. So you should know what onions and peppers taste like when they're cooked together. If you learn these things, then you have a strong knowledge of basically of how to pull together ingredients to make really good recipes. The recipe I'm giving you today can be expanded on, changed. You can add all kinds of things to it. You can take out some things from it, and you can really kind of tweak it to your own desire. So let me show you what we're cooking up. We'll take a look at these ingredients, and we're going to make some delicious chili. Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the star of the dish. I have a big old chuck roast right there. Now, chuck is probably the most common cut for chili making when it comes to making beef chili. The chuck is delicious. It has the right amount of fat. It has a good flavor profile for chili, and it is very common. So it's something that when you taste it, it's like, okay, yeah, I recognize that meat. I've had it in a lot of other chilies. So you just kind of immediately key in on it. Now, down here, and you know, the nice thing is that chuck doesn't break the bank either. It's a good economical cut. Down here we have some other items. I have some poblanos, jalapenos, white onion, and garlic. I also have tomato paste. I have some bourbon, cayenne, paprika, cumin, and salt. Now, in the event that you have issues with alcohol, folks, you don't have to have bourbon. You don't have to have any alcohol in there at all. But I like using this because it gives me, number one, a barley flavor, and number two, a woodiness. And I get it from that. You can also get it from beer. You can get it from Scotch, Canadian whiskey, and it doesn't have to be anything expensive. All you need is a cup. And so that means just, if you don't normally keep something like that around the house, go pick up the smallest bottle they sell, and you've got what you need for your pot of chili. So we have some beautiful ingredients here. Let me show you how we put together this wonderful basic recipe that you can take and tweak and turn it into your special chili. We have our vegetables here on our cutting board for vegetables. Always use green for your vegetables. And we are about to prep these out. Now, chilies. What do we do with these chilies? Do we just cut them up? Yeah, you can do that. You can just dice these into 1/2-inch dice if you want. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a neat little trick to remove the skin. You can remove skin on chilies in a lot of different ways. You can put this in a hot oven under a broiler. Cook it, you know, for about 3, maybe 4 minutes per side. Just when it starts blistering good, flip it over, let it blister on the other side, and then put it in a plastic bag or a closed container of any kind. The heat from it will allow it to sweat, and after about 8 to 10 minutes, you can take them out and that skin will all just peel right off of it very easily. You can put these on a grill and cook them that way, you know, to scorch the skin. You can do that on an electric or in an electric oven on high heat. You can do it on a gas stove directly over the flame itself. You can even use a torch. So a lot of ways you can remove the skin if you decide you want to. I'm going to use my stove, scorch it off, and then after I've processed them at the sink, I'll cut them up. These, I'm not going to worry about the skin so much because I dice these so small. Any skins off of them won't be noticed in the chili at all. The onion, I dice about the same size as this, and all I have to do on this is just get it prepped by removing the end that had the stem on it and these outer layers, so I have just that inner meaty layer ready to go. Don't cut the root off in the beginning. Leave it on and just have this end cut off and the outer paper removed, and we'll get on with cutting these things up. Now let's get at it. Oh, listen to the crackling. That's the skin blistering and popping. Interesting, isn't it? When you take a look at that, you see it in little blisters. That's what you're listening to. Don't be afraid to get these things in some wickedly high heat. Like I said, you can even use a torch on them. Will not hurt them at all. In fact, it will enhance the flavor dramatically. Now you can take these to where they are scorched black all the way around on that skin. That's the way I do it. So if you like, go ahead and do yours the same way. After that, we just put it in the sink, wash that skin off, and then remove the crown. They're ready to cut up at that point. The tips can be done easily with your torch if you have one. Remember, a kitchen torch need not be expensive. Just your basic hardware torch. That works fine. Now folks, when it comes to how do you process these, if you want to preserve the flavor under a charred chili, all you have to do is just peel the skin right off, just like that. See there? See how it comes off? Just rub it off. Don't use a paper towel, don't wipe it, don't do anything like that. And you've got a wonderful charred chili, and it gives you an interesting flavor, that charring does. Now frankly, I'm not interested in that in my chili. I only did this just to get the skin out of my way. So I'm going to wash them and then I'm going to remove that crown. Now that I have washed most of the skin off of there, and I'll give it another light rinse, at the crown here, all we have to do is peel back the chili, okay? So just pull up and back, and that crown will come free. Now it may hang from some of the veins on the inside. Now if that's the case and you want to preserve the meat, you can pull straight up and just snap them. If you pull down, a lot of times it tears the meat. I just snap it upwards and boom, it's ready to rinse the rest of those seeds out and the rest of the skin, and you're ready to go. All right, we're about to get started cutting our vegetables. Make sure you have some bowls handy to put these in once you've got them diced. And we're also going to need a substantial pot. Now this pot is maybe a little deeper than I need, but it will certainly serve the purpose perfectly. So something like that will be very handy for you. Now our vegetables, we need to dice everything up. I want my onion and my poblano to be, in the neighborhood of about 1/2 inch square dice. So that is going to be easy enough to accomplish. The jalapenos, we're going to take those down to a little bit smaller size dice. If you'll notice, I have gloves on now. This is important. Whenever you're handling chilies or peppers or anything like that, make sure you wear some gloves. The capsaicin that's in this is the same stuff that's in pepper spray, all right? And it's hot. If you get it on your hands, it may not burn your hands, but it's an oil and it sticks around like any oil does. And what happens, you have it on your hands, you rub underneath your eye or scratch your face or in some sensitive location on your body, and the next thing you know, that spot is burning, and it's all because of the capsaicin that got on your hands earlier when you were making your chili. Whenever I'm going to be doing this stuff, turn the chili with the inside facing out. If these still had their skin on them, this would make slicing so much easier, okay? Now I can either make nice little long slices like this or just go at it like I normally would. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're like I said, we're looking for about a 1/2 inch square dice. So that's about a 1/2 inch wide, and if I make those the same length cut, then it's perfect. There we go. Those chilies are all done. I'll set that aside. Now let me show you a trick about onions. I've already removed the paper in the outer layer and the end where the stem comes out. The root is still intact. Do yours the same way. Then take it and cut it from root straight down, okay? Gives you two beautiful halves. Now what I'm gonna do with these halves, you need to know they're round, folks, which means if I cut this way and then turn it and cut this way, well, all of the center part's gonna come out perfect, but the side pieces are gonna be real long, okay? And to narrow those down, the first maneuver is what's needed. When you do this, cut away from you, never towards you, okay? When you're holding this, never like this, put your fingers together and keep them together and put them straight on top, okay? So, about a 1/2 inch up from that board, we're gonna make a cross cut. Boom, right there. And we're gonna do it again, right there. You see how I twist my knife? If it binds up and it's too hard to push, give it a little twist. It just needs a little air up in there to break the suction, okay? A Granton edge can assist with that. Granton edge are the ones with the little cuts, the dimples in the side. Okay, now. There, so now when I cut this way and this way, the pieces that come off the side are going to be square like the ones up in here. That's why we do that. Simple enough. Now, there, and this one. Some of it's wanting to cut up a little early. See how well that works? You onions all together, the roots holding everything intact, and all you got to do is just make your cross cuts and you have perfect dice. You might wonder, why is perfect dice an important thing? You want it all to cook even, folks, and if all the pieces are the same size, they cook even. If they're all different sizes, they do not cook even. There we go, our onion diced and ready to go. I'll set that aside. We have these jalapenos. Now let me show you a trick about jalapenos. I'm going to cut the crown off. I'm going to split it lengthwise, just like that. Now, we got all of those seeds and all of that core to deal with. Here is a neat, easy way to do it. Use your spoon. Just simply scrape it out. Okay, that's it. You're done. That's all there is. And let me explain something. What I just removed was 90% of the heat of that chili right there, okay? The heat is combined in the seeds, the membrane that holds the seeds to that vein, and in the vein itself. The majority of the capsaicin is right there. Isn't that easy? All I have to do, and as I mentioned to you before, especially when the skin is on your chili, turn it with the skin side down and make your cuts. And I want to make little matchstick cuts on this one. So we make these little matchstick cuts, like you see here. And when we're done, turn them over. And I'm getting little 1/4 inch square dice, little tiny dice. And that's what I want from those. Isn't that nice? So if you would, just go ahead, cut yours up the same way, small dice, after you pull the core out of the inside. It's time for me to take care of my meat, and something I want to mention when it comes to processing your own beef. Guys, when it comes to doing grinding, don't be afraid of it. Grinders don't cost very much, all right? They're fairly inexpensive machines. All you have to do is take the meat you want to grind and just kind of cut it down into pieces that'll work, okay? Chucks kind of come apart at their own muscles. They do that real easy. Here's the thing. When you're buying ground meat, you don't know what you're getting. You may be getting a fine cut of beef. You know, maybe if you're buying ground sirloin, It may actually be that. But you know what? It could just as well be a piece of brisket and you wouldn't know it. Okay, the thing of it is, if you are grinding your own, you know exactly what went into your ground meat, okay? There's no questioning it. You don't have to wonder about it. You just know what it is, okay? Also, when you go purchase ground beef, you don't know, again, the quality, the length of time it's been ground. You don't know how well they have cleaned the grinder. You know how well you cleaned your own, but you don't know how well they cleaned theirs. This allows you to use your own cut of beef. Ground meats from the store are always a low cut of beef, low quality cut. In other words, they'll take select beef and grind that up. Here I get the choice of grinding up choice beef, and you might say, oh, that's a waste of money. No, it isn't. It's a whole different texture. When I grind up choice beef like this, it comes out soft and fluffy after it's cooked, instead of the meat just seizing up and being hard the way select would be. This doesn't do that. It gives me a very light, soft, tender meat in my chili, and it's a neat feeling on the palate. So I go with this. Now, I need to get a pot under this spout so I can get it ground up. Now, the first thing I want to mention, if you're going to use a grinder, go out and buy one, guys. If you don't have one, just go ahead and get a grinder. They're not expensive. You can get an electric grinder for $50. You can get a hand grinder for $20. And attachments like this also if you've got a larger mixer. So there's all kinds of options. It will change your world when it comes to ground meats, and you get a better product. So never stand in front of the business end, okay? Always stand to the side of it, and be careful where this is pointed, because sometimes these things spit juices, and when they do, well, whatever's in the path, that's what get hit. What get hit. So you don't want something to get hit, then don't be in front of it, okay? Never stand in front of it. There we go. Look at that gorgeous beef, folks. Now just turn to my burner on underneath this. I need to adjust my flame. I'm going to take it to a medium high to begin with, and just bringing it up in temperature. Now this, like I said, gorgeous grind, and that meat, we've got a lot of fat in it, as you see. I don't have to worry about putting oil in here while I'm cooking. That fat's going to render very quickly as soon as heat hits it, and it's going to be all that I need. All right. Chuck that's one of the nice things about it. Chuck has a great deal of fat, and it's good for this. Now over here we have our vegetables that we've already cut up. I've got my onion down here, and of course the jalapeno, and back here that poblano. And it looks like I got about 2 cups of the poblano, and if I were to guess, I'd say about 1.5 cups of my onion there, and about 1 cup, or maybe just a little less, about 3/4 to 1/2 cup, or excuse me, 3/4 of a cup to a cup of the diced jalapeno. There is what that looks like. First thing I want to do is take my onion, and I'm going to put it right down with my meat. Now, when we're doing chili, you cook the onion and the meat together, all right? And this is part of sharing flavors, or stacking flavors actually, is what a lot of chefs like to call that. Stacking flavors is when we put one on top of another on top of another. But sometimes, folks, foods influence each other. The acid and the characteristics of this onion and the water that's going to come out of this onion is going to influence that meat as they cook together, all right? And it's just something that you can't get unless you do it exactly this way. So cook them together. Don't put this in later. I'm going to cover this. We're going to give it some time to cook together, and when the onions and the meat start to cook nicely, and I see browning across the surface of the meat, see how it has begun right there from the cooking process. When I see that most of the way through here, I will then put in my chilies and start cooking those with the meat. And what I'll be doing is sweating the vegetables with the meat together. Let's take a look. All right, this has been cooking for about 4, maybe 5 minutes. And see how I've got a good portion of that still to kind of cook down a little bit. A lot of it's still red. I'm going to give it just a few more minutes with the onion, and I'm doing this with a closed lid, again on medium-high heat, and it's going to give us fabulous flavor. Okay folks, I was just checking this and we have a beautiful cook going on. Most of that has turned to a brown color and we have a little pink left, and that's right where I want it to be to cook up the next part. So I'm going to go ahead and put my poblano in here. Get that jalapeno in there. Let's go ahead and get that stirred in. Now we're going to be sweating this for a little while. It's going to be about another 10 to 15 minutes, and I need to sweat my chili until those onions turn translucent. So right now, let's pull this out. Let's take a look at it. See how the onions are quite white? They're very visible and easy to see. See there? Let me pull a few more out here. So our onions are very visible. I'm going to cook them to where they're translucent and they're kind of hard to see. And then we're going to add in the rest of our ingredients and we go into our simmer mode. All right, folks. It is ready. I have nice translucent looking onions. See there? They're quite clear looking now. Just perfect. Okay, when your onions get to that point, it's time to get the other ingredients in there. I'm going to start by putting in that tomato paste. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work that through the meat and get it worked in. Isn't that nice looking? Okay, now I've got that tomato paste in there and it's time to get some moisture in there. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll put the bourbon in here. Now let me explain something. Anytime that you're cooking with something like bourbon or anything that has alcohol in it, we're not cooking with alcohol, guys. The alcohol is going to cook out in moments, okay? Let me explain to you what happens here. What I put in there was what's called an 80 proof liquor. 80 proof liquor is 40% alcohol. That means the other 60% is something else. Well, guess what? That would be flavored water. That's the water that's flavored like that charred barrel. It's the water that's flavored with that barley, and it is good tasting, and it really adds to that chili and makes it something special. All right? So here we have something going on that's already really, really very special. The steam coming out of here now, this is alcohol steam. Alcohol will boil and steam at 173 degrees, okay? Which means it's going to be the first thing that starts steaming out right now. After that, and it doesn't take it long, it's just water that's steaming out, all right? So the thing of it is don't worry, every bit of the alcohol cooks out. Water boils at 212 degrees, alcohol at 173, and all of it comes out. So we just get a lot of flavor is what we get. Now let's start getting some water. I have a little water on the side here. Pour in maybe a cup of water. There we go. We have moisture displacement that's going to be happening as we simmer, and I'll be adding more water than that, okay? For the moment, I'm turning my temperature down to a low. I'm going to start with some salt. That is about a half teaspoon and about another half. Next, cumin, all right? I want to get some cumin in there, and Hispanics will call this comino, okay? I want about a tablespoon of cumin, and that's about what I've got there. Cayenne. Oh, cayenne is good tasting, let me tell you, but there's just one problem with cayenne. It's fiery hot. I mean, it's way wicked hot. If you don't want cayenne in there, don't put any cayenne in there. But if you like it, don't be afraid of it, guys. It's going to heat up that dish a little bit. It really will. It'll add spice to it. Now, that's one of those flavors you can leave out if you want. Here we go. Paprika. 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons. Guess what, folks? I really like my paprika. 3 tablespoons right there. And that is good. Next thing I need to do is just get my garlic minced up and get it mixed in there. Now folks, when you got your garlic cloves, you can remove that paper by giving it a little twist, and guess what? See there? That paper breaks loose. It's just that simple. You don't have to go through some crazy, extraordinary measure. You don't need a special tube to roll it in or a bowl to shake it in or any of that. Okay? All you need, just give it a little twist. There you go. It comes out. So learn to do that with your garlic and you save yourself a lot of trouble and time and frustration. There you go. That was something I think I picked up on as a kid, and I've been doing it ever since. First thing I do on my garlic before I go mincing it up is I just like to remove those little scabs. I don't like seeing them in my food. So I'll just get rid of that. Now, when I'm mincing garlic, first thing I like to do, and I've got a little paper there, I like to go ahead and crush these. And the reason I do this, I don't want them bobbing and rolling around on me while I'm trying to cut them. So if I do that, it gets that under control. Now, this technique is really simple. Keep the thumb under, fingers on top of the knife, and we're going to rock it up and down like this. Don't worry, folks. Speed comes with time. You just need to focus on the motion itself. Now, I'm going to give you one little tip about mincing garlic, and you're not going to hear any other chef say this, but it is the truth, and it's one of our little tricks. When you're mincing garlic and that knife is going up and down like this, okay, tilt your blade slightly to the side like this. Not quite that much, just slightly, about like so. You will get a better cut on your garlic. It slices it better, and it jumps around on you a little less. If you come straight down on it, it has a tendency to move around a lot more. There we go. That's a nice minced tablespoon. That's actually a little more than a tablespoon. But guess what? I'm using all of it. I wanted 4 cloves of garlic in my chili. So this is starting to come back up to a beautiful simmer. My garlic is all minced up. Get that stirred in. Now, folks, I have all of my ingredients in here. All I need to do is look at my consistency. And this chili is exactly the way I want it to be when I'm done cooking it. Which means I better get some water in there, because this is going to be simmering for about an hour to 2 hours, okay? And it just depends on where I want my flavor profile to go. Now, folks, our chili is finished cooking. The moisture content is just right. I was giving it a final stir. So you'll know, I went ahead and adjusted my seasoning just a little bit. The seasoning on this needed just a little bit more salt, so I added about another teaspoon, and that was absolutely perfect. The onions are almost imperceivable. There's one right there on my spoon, but it doesn't really jump out at you. And that is just right. We have very soft vegetables and a wonderful chili here. My moisture balance is really good on this also. You'll notice how the meat is standing up at the top of the chili. That's what you're looking for. Something that needs to be said right now. If you like chili with beans, at this point you can go ahead and add some cooked pintos in there. You better believe it. Also, you could add cooked red beans if that is your preference. Anything will do. If you want to add some chili or some macaroni to that, then suddenly you get a chili mac. Wonderful stuff to add macaroni to this. It helps to fill the bellies of the young, and it gives them good carbohydrates to have plenty of energy as they go about their lives. Folks, that's Texas chili right there. Now today we used 3 1/3 pounds of beef chuck. Folks, you do not have to match that measurement. This recipe works very well for any amount of ground beef chuck from 2.5 to 3.5 pounds. This is one's a little on the high side. It's not a big deal. It's just going to make it a little more meaty, hearty chili, which is what I was going for today anyway. I'm looking for a very robust chili that's beefy. Now on my other ingredients down here, we got some good looking stuff. I've got poblanos right up front here, and I used 3 big poblanos for this. These commonly are going to be about the size of your hand, and they'll be fairly good and thick. You'll feel like it feels like a bell pepper. If you use bell pepper, I would say use 2 to 2.5 bell peppers will match the same thing I have in these right here. So that you can kind of tweak this dish the way you'd like with all kinds of recipe changes, like your onion. Use any color of onion you want. I used a medium white for this one. I used 4 jalapenos, and those are about a medium-sized jalapeno. 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. I have 12 ounces of tomato paste. Back here, this is 1 cup of bourbon. Your alternatives on this can also be beer. In that case, use the whole can of beer or bottle, whichever you get. You can use Scotch, you can use Canadian whiskey, you can leave this out and just go with water. So kind of make it your way. Cayenne, we use up to 1 tablespoon on that. And remember, the cayenne is scorching hot. Be careful, it'll burn you. Paprika, 2 to 3 tablespoons on your paprika, and 1 tablespoon of cumin. 2 teaspoons to a tablespoon of salt. And folks, with that, you have a recipe for chili that you're going to be wanting to cook all the time. I think if you're going to have some chili, have some wonderful garnishes to go with it. I have cilantro and sour cream, some chopped green onions, and some cheese here. Wonderful things. They work well in chili. Now we need to bowl up some of this chili. Oh, and I am looking forward to this. Some chili in my bowl. That's what I am talking about right there, ladies and gentlemen. Some beautiful, beautiful Texas chili. Now I just need to dress it up with my garnishes, and I am ready to go. One thing is for sure, when you're doing chili, you need something that is beautiful, something that's handsome on the plate, okay? And plating is very important because we eat with our eyes first. So let's turn this from beautiful chili into an adorable chili dish. We're going to start with a little splash of this orange color, and I'm just going to kind of run it right from one side of the bowl to the other. And I'm going to put some little green onions right over the top of that, running right down the middle. Isn't that neat? Also, on mine, I want a little sour cream. So I'm going to put a dollop of sour cream right up on top there. And, pardon my reach, some folks like cilantro. Some people aren't too partial to it. I'm one of those that really enjoys it. So I'm going to have some with mine. I'm going to set it right there behind that sour cream. That's a beautiful way to do your chili, folks. This is Texas chili, and I certainly hope you enjoy yours. The best part of when you get it all fixed up with the goodies, that sour cream, cheese, and onion. Oh, that is beautiful. This magic harmony of flavor. Folks, this is a chili recipe you're really going to enjoy. It's got fabulous, deep, robust flavor, perfect for a winter. Pardon me. And it's going to be the kind of dish, once you've tasted it, you're going to want to hang on to it because it's just that good of a recipe. I make a lot of chili recipes, and this is one of my best. This is my Texas chili. It's beefy. It is delicious, and it has such a balance in the flavors. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. To my subscribers, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You've backed me. You've been there for me, and I appreciate it like you can't imagine. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Take a look at that channel. There's a lot of recipes on there. Also, I've just recently started a Patreon page. That's patreon.com/Stuart Trotter, and that's StuartTrotter. Just like you see it right here. Thank you very much for watching this again, and if you would, folks, please have a good day and enjoy your chili. Bye-bye. Come with me.